the tragedy of exile is not just our private suffering or not suffering. Some places are luxurious and very pleasant sometimes. The deficiency, like in the tragedy, is for God's name. The rabbis say in the Gemara in Brachot, the Talmud Bavli, in Brachot, page 8a, since the temple is destroyed, the Jews are outside the land, you have, God only has his 4 cubits of halacha, the minimum private domain, as if God's name is now on the individual laws, the statutes of do's and don'ts, which is important, which are significant, definitely. But those are the extensions in the private life of a collective, higher, transcending good. And outside of Israel, when the Jews are outside the land, continuing to perform those commandments, as we saw, those that were here previously, how the commandments are a rehearsal for the real thing, the Sifri that Ramban brings down. The commandments are, you continue doing them outside the land. Why? Remember what we said, what this rabbi said? So they shouldn't be new to you when you come back. Rashi brings it down on the what we say every day in Kriyat Shema, in chapter 11, verse 18, in Dvarim. That even when you go outside the land, continue doing the mitzvot, so they shouldn't be new to you when you come back. The real import that we saw, these rabbis that explained the significance of the commandments, as the Torah says, right? These are the laws and the statutes I teach you, I give you from God to do in the land. At the book of Dvarim, we saw that, we read that over and over again. These are the laws and the statutes to do in the land. Outside the land, what's lacking is, again, not our personal deficiency, but God's name. This content that comes to the world as a national ideal is lacking. The world is now lacking the expression of God's name in its totality. This beacon of light, of infinite light. It's like this attachment of this world from the umbilical cord. That's why the Rambam says it can never be that there be no Jews outside the land. There can never be a total disconnection. There be no world, no Am Yisrael, no life. And with that, what we discussed, we saw the Rambam, those who were here. But the problem is, after 2,000 years in exile, we get used to that. We start getting used to thinking that's all there is to Judaism. Shabbat, kashrut, holiness, individual religiosity. What more is there? Like you hold your hand, tie your hand backwards for, a few hours, days. The muscles get used to this new situation. Take away the rope, whatever, and the hand stays. That's the normal situation. What the rabbis call it teva sheni, becomes second nature. The opposite. Even to go back to the normal situation is abnormal. It takes an effort, is painful. So too, we got so used to being outside the land as if Judaism is just this private, individual 4 cubits of halakha. So much so that when we start coming back and the nation starts to wake up, this national awareness, national consciousness, to derive to be a nation again, there are those that say, who needs it? Who wants it? Who needs statehood, government? The opposite. In the exile, we maintained miraculously holiness against nature, against the body, against all the threatening outside non-Jewish culture. The physical, the body, the government, politics was outside our realm. Again, even threatening. It was to take us away from spirituality. As the Chovot HaLevavot writes, that the more you build the body, the more the destruction of the spiritual, of the soul, of the intellect. As if they're mutually exclusive, the body and the soul. And that the Khatam Sofer says, indeed, that's true in the exile. We become what Christianity, the separation of Havdil, church and state, of temple and state, as if there's the temple, there's the religion, and there's nationalism, politics. That's for the Goyim, that's not for Judaism, that's not for us. We don't deal with those things. And indeed, we didn't, and we stood away, and properly so, like the Chovot HaLevavot says. They're dealing with the physical. It's not our land, it's not our place, and there it doesn't have the qualities that enhances holiness. It detracts. So there we got used to staying away. As if all these topics are not for us, they don't belong to us. There's a rabbi that was in the Knesset years ago, in the name of his rabbi, that said, if we had 2,000 years of Torah without a state, we don't need a state, we don't need government. 2,000 years without a state, we have Torah. Our rabbis told us a little differently. As we saw, remember the Jews outside the land, remember those that were here from the beginning, Yechezkel 36, that outside the land, it's considered what? A destruction of God's name, a desecration of God's name. Right? It says, I'll take you out, I'll put you in the exile, and there you will defile my name by your being there. The nations will say, where is your God now? Am Hashem Elu mi'atzor Yitzhak. This is the land, the people of God, and they're outside of His land. And we described how the very presence outside the land constitutes this creation of God's name. His name cannot be fully revealed. Because His name is not just you and your private religiosity. First and foremost, the name of God on the collective holiness, to be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. That's before the Ten Commandments, like I said, God revealed. And we'll see many more sources. But we got used to that all there is to Judaism is the private, the 4 cubits of halacha. The rabbis say in the Gemara, also in Talmud Bavli, in Chagigat, page 5b, that since the Jews are exiled from their land, you have no greater bitul Torah than this. No greater nullification of Torah. What do you mean nullification of Torah? The Talmud Bavli? That is Torah. But the rabbis say that is the calification. The Torah is not just the book. The book you can have outside the land and read the book and print the book and fulfill the book. Baruch Hashem. And we did. But the name of God, that collective, that holiness of God that infuses, that changes, uplifts the world beyond this world, that ideal of God, the name of God is not just, His name is how He's called, how He's revealed in the world, how that ideal is expressed. And when there's no body, the collective body, then God's name, that collective name of God, the full name, the Shekhinah, right? We have the prayers of Shechinta Begaluta, the midnight prayers of the Shekhinah, God's presence in exile. What do you mean exile? The Jews are religious all over. Yes, but that's the Shekhinah in its exile. If it doesn't have that body, it has an arm and a leg and a kidney and that machine and that. What do you mean there's no life? But that's not life. The Neshama is revealed when there's a healthy body functioning. And that's defined by the Jews in the land of Israel, as we saw before.